Today we're going to learn about sum esse, which is our verb to be in Latin. And this is going to be our first irregular verb. And by irregular I mean it's not going to follow the pattern of endings that our first conjugation verbs previously followed. So here are the three principal parts of sum esse. Once again, most verbs have four principal parts, but sum esse being irregular is only going to have three. And they are sum, esse, fui. If we remember, our principal parts each tell us something about the verb. Our first principal part tells us the first person singular in the present only, sum being I am. And our second principal part, esse, is the infinitive, and this means to be. Now let's look at the full verb chart of sum esse. Remember, we've said this first principal part up top left in red is simply our first person singular sum. Now usually, for other verbs, we go to the infinitive, drop our ending, and conjugate it. Esse is irregular, so we're not going to add endings to it. You just have to memorize these forms, and they are sum, es, est, sumus, estis, sunt. These are not endings, these are the forms of the verb themselves, and they are completely irregular. You must memorize these. Once again, here's the verb chart for sum esse fui. And we have our meanings here. So we have sum, I am, es, you are, est, he, she, or it is, sumus, we are, estis, you all, plural are, you all are, and sunt, they are. Now that we've seen how the verb is formed, and remember, you need to memorize this, let's talk about how the verb sum esse is used, because sum esse is a little different than other verbs. Sum esse is an intransitive or a linking verb. All our other verbs were action verbs, and they took a direct object. Sum esse will not take a direct object. It will never take an accusative. Instead, sum esse takes another nominative called a predicate nominative. And a predicate nominative occurs when you have another noun in the nominative case that happens after the verb to be in a sentence. Here's an example. Graecia est provincia. In this sentence, both Graecia and provincia are in the nominative case, but Graecia is in front of the verb and provincia is after the verb. Therefore, provincia is the predicate nominative because it comes after est, the verb. The placement of sum esse will also slightly change its meaning. The normal placement occurs when it is put in between the subject and the predicate of the sentence, like we saw in the last example. Graecia est provincia. And here you merely translate it. Greece is a province. However, it can also be used demonstratively. When the verb to be is the first word in a sentence and it occurs in the third person, either singular or plural, it is demonstrative, as in est agricola in villa. And when you have est in a first position or sunt in a first position like this, you're going to take the subject there. So this sentence is, there is a farmer in the farmhouse. Demonstrative. Now here's some practice for you. There are three sentences, Troia est in Asia, sum in villa, and sunt agricolae in villa. Take a moment to translate each of these. Pay attention to the placement of the verb sum esse. It would be a good time to pause the recording so that you have some time to work on these, and we'll go over them in a minute. Alright, let's look at number one. Notice in number one, our verb to be, est, is in the middle of the sentence. Troia est in Asia simply translates as Troy is in Asia. Our second one is a little trickier because here we have our verb to be in the first position. However, it is not in the third person, so it cannot be a demonstrative use. This sentence simply says, I am in the farmhouse. Now, when we look at the third sentence, we have the verb to be in the first position again, and this time it's also in the third person plural. So this is going to be a demonstrative use of the verb to be. And this one says, there are farmers in the farmhouse. Now that we've completed our lesson, let's talk about our takeaways. First of all, the most important thing to do is to memorize our verb sum esse. It is completely irregular, so you have to memorize these 6 forms, and you have to memorize their meanings. Also, let's remember how sum esse is used. Remember, it is an intransitive or linking verb, so it will never take the accusative case. Instead, it will take a predicate nominative. Also, remember when you have the third person of sum esse in the first position in a sentence, it's translated there is in the singular or there are in the plural.